Hello and welcome to Eboda's Awesome Animator. In this short tutorial, we're going to walk through some of the user interface features of the program, and we're also going to create a simple animation from scratch. This will get you familiar with the basic functionalities of the program and allow you to create basic animations. When you first launch the program, you'll be presented with the basic Animator window. It's here that you do all of your design work, which includes drawing shapes such as squares, ellipses, lines, or even freehand drawing. Now the Windows interface looks a little bit different, but all the functionality is identical. So, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new project. You don't have to do this, but it's a good idea. So we go to File, New, then we select our path and name our program. As you can see, the name of the new program is now at the top of the editor window. So the first thing we're going to do is place a couple of shapes. So I'm going to click on the rectangle. As you can see, at the bottom of the screen, there's a short description of how to use the tool that you just selected. There's also a shortcut key, or hotkey. We tried to provide the user with multiple ways of performing many of the actions that are possible with Eboda's Awesome Animator. So, instead of clicking on this rectangle, I could have just typed R. So now with the rectangle selected, I'm going to click and drag, and this creates a simple rectangle. Now let's create a couple more shapes. Now I'm going to click on the circle, then I'm just going to single click on the canvas, and I'm going to draw out my circle. When it's right where I want it, I can single click, and the circle is drawn. Now I'll do a little freehand drawing by selecting the draw tool, click, and just drag out whatever shape you like. Now we have a freehand drawing. Drag that over here. Now, solid colors are okay, but to give it a little more character, we can also change the transparency by varying this alpha slider. As you see, the transparency of the rectangle is increasing as we move the slider to the left. We can also change the color of the stroke. Now the rectangle has a blue outline. If we want the stroke to be wider, we increase the stroke width. If we want it gone completely, we just bring the stroke width down to 0. On the Properties panel, we have all of our settings for each of our objects, and we also have the overall animation settings. The frames per second setting controls the rate at which your animation will play. The higher the number, the faster the animation. 10 is a good default, so I'm going to leave it at 10. Here we'll see the current frame that we're working on and the total frames in the animation. Here we have the custom library, which we'll get to in a few minutes. To create a simple animation, all we need to do is design each frame and then go to the next frame. So say this is our starting point. Now, I can right click and click on New Frame. We'll see over here, the current frame is now 2 and the total frames are now 2. Drag just a little. Right click, click on Next Frame. Now there's also keyboard shortcuts for this, as with many of the other features in our program. Holding down Shift and hitting the right arrow will also increase the frames. Also, holding Control and hitting the F key increases the frame. So let's make the ball go down a little bit. I'm going to hit Control F. You can see that the current frame updated and the total frame also updated. To go back in time to see what the previous states are, we can hold down Shift and hit the left arrow. As you can see, the current frame is decreasing, but the total frames stay the same. So back up to frame 6, which is the current frame. Make a couple of more small adjustments. Save the frame, and I think that's a good start. So now we want to play the animation. We come up here to the menu, we click on Animation, and we click on Play. This brings up the animation window, which is where the animation is played. You can see that the animation window has all the normal features that you would expect from any type of animator. We have play, rewind, stop, fast forward, and while the program is running, we also have a pause button. We hit play, we can see the pause button comes up while the animation is playing and then switches back to the play button. of your playback. The stop button returns the animation to the beginning frame and also resets the progress bar. Now we'll quickly talk about grouping objects. To group an object, you drag a selection box around the objects that you wish to group, and you can see they're both highlighted. We right-click on the objects, and we click Group Selection. Once the selection is grouped, we can simply drag to the custom library, or we can right-click and click on Save to Library. As you can see, we have 2 copies of the shape in the custom library now. To use the grouped objects in the custom library, all we do is double-click, and as we move our mouse back onto the canvas, we can see that we have our custom object following our mouse. To place it, we simply click. Eboda's Awesome Animator also has features which allow you to resize, scale, shear, or rotate any object on the screen. To access these features, we double-click on an object that's already on the screen, and you'll see the transformation controls appear at the corners. We have rotate, freescale, shear, and ratio scale. If we click on the ratio scale, we can see that we can make our objects smaller or bigger, and the aspect ratio is maintained. Now we click Enter to commit. Double-clicking again, we see the shear function, the freescale function, and the rotate function. Now, if we don't like our transformation, we simply hit Escape, and nothing's saved. Now, to save our work, we simply click on File, Save, or Save As if you want to save it under a different. Now, if you didn't create a new project, then the project title will be untitled. In that case, saving the project will be the same as Save As, and it will allow you the choice of selecting the directory you want to save in and specifying a file name. Now, if you exit the program by clicking on File, Exit, or hitting Control, Alt, X, you'll be given the opportunity to save your project before the program exits. Now we just saved, so we're going to click No. Now we can demonstrate that the saving functionality works. So we'll click on Eboda's Awesome Animator and wait for it to load. Once again, we have the bare Animator window. File, Open. We navigate to where we saved our project, and Open. Now, if you have a large animation, this could take a few seconds, but this is a small one, so it was very quick. And as you can see, our frames have been saved, all of our objects have been saved, and the objects that we've placed in our custom library have also been saved. This has been a very brief introduction to Eboda's Awesome Animator. Thanks for watching.